Welcome back to Game Quest. I'm Mike.
And I'm Tony.
And it's been a couple of days since we were recording last.
Yeah, just a few.
So if we don't immediately... Oh, right, the ground pass. We're fighting the Shadow Lurkers.
I can't even begin to recall what the heck I was supposed to be doing here.
Well, I mean, you walk into a challenge room and it tells you need to do something.
Oh, yeah, but I don't remember which challenge I was on.
There's a gate guardian we're trying to free on the way to Ulthway. Wow, I actually remembered all that.
Yeah, you did.
You need to counter people.
Kind of. I already forgot what the block button was.
It's like left bumper. Not a lock on. Make it easier on you.
Yeah. Man, that telegraphing is weird. Does that seem off to you?
A little bit. That was not the correct move.
That was not the correct move. You are correct there. That's just too soon. Come on, come on. Nope. There we go. I'll get the hang of this in a second. If I, don't dodge out of the way.
I can't tell if you would be amazing at or the absolute worst at Devil May Cry.
I remember playing it once before and I was pretty bad at it.
Oh yeah, I remember because I remember now this story. This is a funny story. On my recommendation, we got Devil May Cry once upon a time, and he was like, "This game is good." Mike recommended it. Says it's one of his favorite games, and he played it. And he managed to fuck up the tutorial fight so badly that he unlocked easy mode and then shelved the game in a fit of rage.
I mean, that is what happened. I don't like talking about this. I really should get it.
It's such a good series. I haven't played 5. I can't vouch for 5 because I haven't played 5, but all 4 other Devil May Cry games are good.
Yeah. Like, you can tell it's a good game because a lot of other games have a habit of taking its gameplay.
Can you believe Devil May Cry was originally going to be a Resident Evil game?
I know, right? That seems so nonsensical, but... They really said, hey, we want to make a Resident Evil game, but we want to focus on the cool factor of the protagonist instead of, all the features that make a Resident Evil game.
For a second, I was like, is war water soluble?
Yeah.
As you were jumping into it, I'm like, I'm looking for, a path around, mentally.
I had that, same mental thought, just am I gonna die if I try and jump this?
Is it jumped up? Can you not? I asked you in all seriousness, you can't. There's a staircase.
Aha, staircase.
There's another staircase.
Okay.
Not entirely sure where you're oh, hey! I actually didn't know this was up here. I was just, oh, hey, what's over there?
Alright, what's this challenge?
I hate when you're trying to explore side content and you keep finding the main quest. No, I'm ignoring you.
Mm-hmm. It's just
As a
like,
matter of fact, Valentine, I don't give a shit what happened to my son.
oh.
That's like one of my few criticisms. That's like one of the criticisms I have of Fallout 4, where it's just, it's weird to talk about that game while playing this game. But, like, the problem with an open world game like that is that, like, if the main quest sucks, like, you don't enjoy the main quest, then, like, Skyrim has a lot of stuff outside of, oh, hey, this is happening. Are you supposed to be Fury?
Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't paying attention to that.
No, like, you're talking about,
Yeah, no. The thing is that basically, like, it has to do with the way the content is presented, if that makes sense? I'm trying to think of a good way to... Like, the thing is like...
oh, sweet, yeah, cool.
Like, Fallout 4 is a great example. If, like, the main content thing keeps coming back up, which in itself is not a bad thing, the way it ties this bunch of stuff back around into stuff, but, like, so much of it loops back around to the fact that you are a concerned parent looking for their son, that, like, if you don't care about the main plot for some reason, or you dislike it for one reason or another, it kind of ruins the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Like, it feels weird to say that, because that's like saying, man, like, if you really, really hate casual farming sims, then Harvest Moon just isn't the game for you. But it's like, the point holds where it's like, if for some reason you don't like or don't care about some facet of the game, then, like, that's whatever. But, like, the more they force you to interact with the thing that you don't care about, like, the worse it gets. Like, Fallout 4 does not have good writing. I'm sorry. Like, there are parts of it that are incredible. Like, the crew of robots that are trying to, like, basically take over a old ship, and then they end up crashing it into the top of a skyscraper because they put rocket thrusters on, like, a galleon, and it's amazing.
That seems pretty cool.
Like, no, it's one of the funniest side quests. Not just in that game, but possibly just in Fallout in general.
Yeah?
It's hilarious. It's wonderful. But, thing is, like, New Vegas' writing was really good. And, like, it was, the main quest was good, the side quests were good, there were fun moments here and there, but it's like, you could do stuff that wasn't the main quest. Like, I'm going on a weird rambling spree at this point, but, like, Fallout 4, like, the way it's structured is everything comes back around to have you see my son. So, like, the less you care about it, the more it's upsetting. Like, technically, you can play Skyrim and never actually do the quest trigger that causes, like, dragons to start spawning into the world.
Can we do it again?
I mean, that's fair. Like, I kind of really didn't care, like, a single bit about the actual plot line of Skyrim when I was playing it. But that's the thing, though, is there's other stuff you can do, like the Companions quest line, or the College of Winterhold, or the Vampire things. None of those things... You have to do anything involving dragons to, like, go and experience that stuff.
Yeah,
I think you swim in over... Oh, never mind. You can just jump over, I guess.
Like, I remember personally kind of going like, wow, like, I'm really invested in basically, like, the Dark Brotherhood storyline. Like,
Oh, yeah, Dark Brotherhood quests are great, always. Whoever writes those really deserves to work at a better game studio.
I think one of the best things about it is that, like, it reminded me of the main, like, story plotline in a way that didn't immediately tick me off. Like, ah, man, you're reminding me of the thing that I don't want to do. It's like, oh, hey, That was a thing I'm actively ignoring, but like it's brought back in a cool way.
But like, say for instance, Preston Garvey, the Minutemen guy, right?
Yeah.
You meet him fairly early on in the game, assuming you don't go down the path that you're normally supposed to go down, like the way the game intends you to explore the game.
Mm-hmm.
You're supposed to bump into these different people and everything. But like, befriending Preston and doing that stuff is one of like the 4 endings to the game. There's like 4 or 5 endings, and each of them require you to go down this thing or whatever. Where it's like, oh man, this stuff with the Brotherhood is really interesting, and it's crazy that like this stuff's happening, and what's with that giant airship basically flying into town, right?
Yeah.
And then like, you're having these thoughts and you're talking to people, and then you're like, oh god, no, it's back to this shit with the Institute and the... Sean!
Look, sometimes you just want a straightforward plot where you're just a big dude with a big sword and you're going to go kill some bad guy.
Well, it's one of those things that kind of infuriates me a little bit about the design philosophies,
Mm-hmm.
because the way it's presented and the way they do stuff or whatever, like, if I walk into a game like a Bethesda game and they basically made this huge open world where you can go anywhere and do anything, right? And that's awesome. You don't... Oh, are you supposed to keep your minions alive?
Yeah.
Okay.
You doing a
Escort mission?
yeah.
But it's like, oh man, look at this like giant like world. Like, wait, you step out of the cave in Skyrim, right? And it's just like, oh man, look at this huge fantasy open world with like mountains and beautiful like mountain ranges and this like river and like this snowy tundra and these things and all this stuff, and then friggin' what's his name, Hadvar or whatever. Am I misremembering? I don't care. The guy you come out of the cave with, it's Rayloff or someone else. I think it's Hadvar. And they look at you as like, hey, you want to come with me to Riverwood? And it's like, yeah, I guess, but like, you don't need to like... And they try to drag you into the stuff, and it's like, yeah, I mean, dragons are a problem. I'll help you fight. I'm planning on like fighting them anyway, but like, you don't need to force me to explore your giant, glorious open world full of adventure. It's why I showed up.
Yeah.
So when there's like a really long, drawn-out cutscene between 2 characters I barely know arguing about shit that I'm not directly involved in, like, makes me wonder why I'm there. Like, you can't take control of anything in Skyrim a lot of the time. Like, you can become in charge of, like, certain groups, like the Companions or whatever, but at the end of the war, you either crown Ulfric or you crown, what's-her-face as the High King or High Queen or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that's how that quest line ends. And there's nothing more to it than that. And it's like, why couldn't it be you? Like, that's another thing that basically, like, made Fallout New Vegas so good. Because you wake up finding out some guy basically some guy tried to kill you, steal a package you were trying to deliver.
Yeah.
By the time you figure out what that's about, there are several main factions. There's a faction where, like, you help House, like, basically complete his plans that he's hiring you for in the first place as a more active, like, direct participant. There's one where you, like, side with the Legion, one where you side with the NCR, one where, and then, like, another one where you try and hijack House's plan to, like, be the new king of the, like, Mojave Desert. And I think there's another one or two that I'm just not remembering off the top of my head.
I mean, there was a lot to that game, actually.
Yeah, that's before, like, DLC stuff, right?
Yeah.
But it's, like, a great example of, like, the poor writing in Fallout 4, which I'm coming down Fallout 4, Fallout 4, like, it's not a bad game, like, objectively, like, I derive enjoyment from it, but it's very emblematic of all of the problems that people have with Bethesda games. Does that make sense? Like, in Fallout 4, you don't even get to see what your dialogue options are. It's just something like, it says something like sarcasm,
Which seemed like at first, when I first heard about it, I'm like, oh hey, you kind of get the general shape of what you're trying to say instead of what exactly
no.
you're saying. Like, that might be interesting, and like, like, what I saw in practice, like, oh no, that's not effective. That's not working at all.
Yeah, no, it's like, I remember Mass Effect getting criticized for it. Like, having, like, big dialogue choices or whatever.
It don't line up with what it says. It's like...
Yeah, so it's just like... And it kind of happens a little bit with Mass Effect. But, like, holy hell. It's just like... There's a thing where it's just like... You say something, you pick an option, it's just like, oh, this thing or whatever. It's like, oh, hey. This guy's like, we're here to negotiate peace with, like, these people or whatever, right? And then, like, you'll get two options, and one is basically, like, says something like, welcome, like, basically, like, welcome them, and it's just like, oh, then I welcome you. To your grave, you idiots, we'll never make peace with you, and you just open fire, and it's just like, what? And then, like, you go back, and it's just go, okay, so what's the other one? It is, like... And it says something like, fuck you, and, like, you click that one, and somehow that leads to diplomacy. It is just, like... 3 days after the game came out, the most popular mod on the Nexus, forums, or coming from the Nexus forums, was one where it, like, literally just tells you what your dialogue options are, like what you're actually picking when you go to say something to people. And it's infuriating because there are so many funny moments built into it,
Underwater combat,
which are just so dumb but funny. Like, there's one where you encounter a roving robot, and he basically starts screaming about, like, basically you potentially being a communist and demands to prove.
Are you talking about Liberty Prime?
No. It's just a random Mr. Gutsy.
Oh, okay.
And, like, if you try and reason with him or say anything, like, he just freaks out and just attacks you. But there's like a dialogue option where you tell him to basically, like, fuck off, you malfunctioning pile of scrap metal, and he was like, freedom-loving American confirmed, have a nice day. And it's just like, you see these snippets of the game that could have been?
Yeah.
When you're not interacting with the main plot that you don't like. Which, I'm not saying you can't like the main plot, but it's just like, for those of us who didn't like it, Fallout 4 became a very hard game to love. I think this is the way you came in from.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it is.
Oh, hey, you actually can't leave.
Oh, wow. There's a thing on the other side over here.
Is there not a cave below you, or did you check that first?
I don't think I checked it.
I think I see a gray spot below you that indicates a cave. On the mini-map?
Yeah. Question is, do I get there from just going down here?
I think you go down there, yeah. I think it's underwater.
Ah, there we go. Figured out how to dive.
Anyway, we will move on to talking about this game.
Yeah, oh yeah, we spent
I spent an entire episode complaining about Fallout. Next time on Glenn Quest.
Next time.